Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into some really interesting source material you shared today. It tackles something many of us find, well, incredibly difficult. Finding motivation when you're living with depression.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a tough space.
Yeah.
And what I really appreciate about these sources is how they avoid those simplistic, just think positive kind of messages.
Right.
They offer a much more grounded and, frankly, compassionate perspective.
Exactly. So our mission here is to unpack those insights for you,
Mm.
kind of act as guides through this material. We want this to feel like a safe space to explore these ideas, just like the sources aim to be. So should we just jump in?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so right at the start, the material hits a major misunderstanding, doesn't it?
Yep.
It argues really strongly that depression is not laziness or weakness.
Oh, that's so crucial. It just dismantles so much guilt people carry. The sources are incredibly clear. Depression is an illness, period.
Not a choice.
Not a choice, not a character flaw, not
Yeah.
being too sensitive. It's a medical condition.
And it doesn't just state it's an illness. It really breaks down how it affects you physically.
Mhm.
Energy levels, focus, sleep.
Appetite, physical functions. Even as the source puts it, the sheer will to exist sometimes, it really digs into the physical reality.
The analogies used are quite striking, too. They really land.
They do, like getting out of bed feeling like you're lifting a truck, or brushing your teeth feeling like you just ran a marathon.
Wow. Yeah. That really paints a picture of the internal resistance.
It completely changes the game for what motivation can even look like when you're in that state.
So the takeaway from that part is huge, isn't it? Basically, drop the guilt.
You're not lazy. You're surviving something immense. And that survival, that's heroic in itself. Just acknowledging that effort is step one.
A massive shift from self-blame to self-recognition. Okay, so if surviving is the baseline, the heroic act, where does the material point next? It seems to shift towards small actions.
Yes, really small actions. And this is where the advice gets so practical and honestly kind.
It pushes back against that image we often have of motivation being, a sudden urge to go run 5 miles at dawn.
Exactly. When you're depressed, motivation looks completely different. It's much quieter.
Like drinking a glass of water.
Yep. Or opening a window. Maybe putting your phone down for like 5 minutes. Taking one conscious breath. Things that seem tiny.
Almost insignificant from the outside, maybe.
But the reasoning behind it is key. The source emphasizes lowering the bar, not with shame, but with compassion.
Right.
The goal isn't some huge achievement, it's just taking any step that feels possible in that moment.
Because each tiny step, as the material explains, sends a message back to your brain.
A really powerful one. It's like whispering, I'm still here, I'm still trying. It starts to build a little momentum, even from basically zero.
It's redefining what trying means in that context, finding those tiny wins.
It chips away at that inertia.
And that mention of compassion leads right into the next point, doesn't it? Practicing self-compassion, looking at our internal dialogue.
Yeah, this part hits hard. The source poses a really powerful question.
Would you ever talk to a friend, someone you love who's struggling, the way you sometimes talk to yourself?
Exactly. You wouldn't be harsh or critical or tell them they're worthless.
Never. You'd offer kindness, understanding.
So the core message is simple. You deserve that exact same kindness. Those harsh thoughts, they're symptoms of the depression. They aren't the truth about you.
You are not your worst days.
Definitely not. And there's a practical tip, too. Try writing down just one positive thing about yourself each day.
Even if it feels tiny, like, I got out of bed.
Yeah, or I drank some water. It's about actively finding that little bit of counter evidence to the negativity, an anchor, however small.
Okay, so moving from that internal world, the material also talks about the external world, specifically our relationship with screens, strategic disconnection.
This is relevant for so many of us. The sources point out how social media especially can be a major trigger when you're feeling low.
Oh, absolutely, that comparison trap.
Totally. You're living your messy, real, behind-the-scenes life.
And scrolling through everyone else's polished highlight reel. It just makes you feel worse, like you're failing or alone in your struggle.
So the suggestion is, well, similar in concept, but maybe hard in practice. Take breaks from screens.
Even just for an evening?
Even just for an evening. Put the phone away. Create some quiet space.
And the idea is to fill that space gently, right? With things that reconnect you to yourself.
Yeah, things like stepping outside for a minute, maybe writing a few thoughts down, listening to some music you love, petting an animal.
Making a cup of tea, Simple, grounding things.
It's about finding comfort and presence away from that constant digital noise and comparison.
Building on managing overwhelm, there's also this really practical tip about structure. Gentle structure.
Right, because depression can really mess with your sense of time, making everything feel shapeless and daunting. Task paralysis is real.
But this isn't about a packed, rigid schedule, is it?
No, not at all. The key words are simple and flexible. It's more like adding a few gentle guideposts to the day.
And the framework suggested is quite specific. Just 3 gentle tasks daily. 1 for the body, 1 mind, 1 spirit.
I like that breakdown. And the examples are so doable. Body could be a little stretch, or just making sure you eat something.
Mind could be reading a page of a book or journaling 1 sentence.
Spirit could be stepping outside, like we said, or maybe sending a quick text to a friend.
They're not about pressure. They're small check-ins. The idea, I think, is that these little bits of consistency build confidence over time.
Exactly. It makes structure feel supportive, like a handrail, rather than demanding. It helps you regain a small sense of agency.
And sort of underpinning all of this is the body itself. The material loops back to fueling the physical self.
Which is so fundamental, but also one of the first things to go when you're depressed, right? Eating well, sleeping, moving.
It all feels like too much effort. But the source reminds us your brain needs fuel, especially when it's under the stress of depression.
Your whole body does. So again, the suggestions are basic, but crucial. Drink water.
Try to get some whole foods in: fruit, nuts, protein, whatever feels manageable.
And move your body, even just for a minute or two. Walk around the room, stretch while sitting, put on 1 song, and just move.
It's not about fitness goals.
Not at all. It's about the insight that tiny physical shifts can actually create noticeable shifts in emotional energy, basic biological support.
Makes sense. Now, a really big one the sources tackle is isolation. Depression often tells you to hide away, right?
Oh, yeah. It screams, don't bother anyone. You're a burden.
But the material counters that directly.
Yeah.
It says connection is vital, essential for healing.
And you are not a burden for needing support. That's the illness talking, not the truth.
And reaching out doesn't have to be this huge, heavy conversation either.
No. The examples given are so simple. A text like, hey, thinking of you, or even having a rough day could use a friend.
Or just want to watch a movie. Something light.
It's just about making that connection, however small, reminding yourself and the other person that you're there.
And it also mentions other avenues, if friends aren't the right option right then.
Right, like online support groups, talking to a therapist, helplines. The point is, help is available. People are trained and want to connect.
You don't have to be alone in it. Such an important message against that isolating pull.
Definitely.
Okay, so when everything feels bleak and motivation is just gone, the material offers another anchor, finding your why.
This is about digging a little deeper, finding a reason to hold on, even when hope feels distant.
The source asks some guiding questions, like, who are you still here for?
Or what dream haven't you totally given up on yet? What tiny thing still brings you a flicker of comfort or meaning?
And that why could be anything, couldn't it? Your kids, a pet.
A passion project, your faith, maybe just the abstract hope for a slightly better day tomorrow, whatever resonates for you.
And the technique suggested is really tangible. Write it down.
Put it somewhere visible. Repeat it like a mantra when things get really tough.
It acts like a little anchor, or as the source says, a lighthouse in the storm. Something to focus on.
A reminder of purpose, however small it feels right now.
And finally, wrapping up the core points, the material makes a powerful statement about asking for help. It tackles the stigma head on.
Yes. It reframes asking for help completely. It's not weakness.
It's strength, incredible strength and courage, actually.
Exactly. Recognizing you need support and taking that step is brave.
It mentions the options. Again, therapy, medication, friends, crisis lines.
Framing them not as last resorts, but as valid, useful tools, like seeking support when you have a physical illness.
And the message here is just so affirming. People care. Professionals are trained to help. They want to see you get better.
You matter. Your story matters. And you don't have to do this alone. It's a really empowering way to frame seeking support.
It really is. So if you've listened through this deep dive, just taking in these ideas from the material you shared, well, that itself is an action. That's a step.
Absolutely. And the core message from these sources is one of profound validation, isn't it?
Yeah. You are not lazy. You're not broken. You're not falling behind.
You're doing the very best you can in incredibly difficult circumstances. And that is genuinely enough.
And I love how the material redefines motivation near the end. It's not always this huge, roaring thing.
No. Sometimes it's just a whisper, a single breath, that quiet choice to just stay, to try again tomorrow.
Recognizing motivation in those tiny, quiet moments can be life-changing, I think. It changes how you see your own efforts.
Mm. It validates the smallest steps.
So if any of this resonated, the sources gently suggest maybe sharing these insights. They might help someone else feel less alone.
Yeah.
And for you, listening right now, perhaps consider this as you go forward. What does it mean for you personally to view motivation as potentially just that whisper or that single quiet choice? How might that change how you see your efforts today or tomorrow?